Most people trying to fix hair loss are completely missing one tiny mineral, and without it, your hair simply cannot regrow. I'm talking about zinc. But here's the problem. Almost everyone takes the wrong type, the wrong dose, or takes it in a way that actually blocks absorption. If you want thicker hair, less shedding, and real regrowth, you need to get this exactly right. Hair follicles are some of the fastest growing cells in your entire body. That means they demand nutrients constantly, and zinc sits right at the center of that process. Zinc is required for DNA replication, cell division, and protein synthesis. Every single strand of hair is made from keratin, and zinc is critical for keratin production. When zinc is low, hair follicles weaken, growth slows, and hair enters the shedding phase much faster than it should. One of the earliest signs of zinc deficiency is increased hair fall, especially from the crown and hairline. You may also notice thinning eyebrows, brittle hair, or hair that simply won't grow past a certain length. What's interesting is that zinc deficiency doesn't always show up on basic blood tests because your body tightly regulates zinc in the blood. You can be functionally deficient and still get a normal lab result. Zinc also controls hormones that directly affect hair. Low zinc raises DHT sensitivity in hair follicles. DHT shrinks follicles over time, leading to thinner and shorter hair cycles. Zinc helps inhibit excess DHT activity at the follicle level, not by blocking hormones artificially, but by supporting the enzymes that keep things balanced. This is one reason zinc is so powerful for both men and women experiencing hair loss. Now let's talk dosage, because this is where most people mess up. For hair regrowth, the effective daily amount of elemental zinc is typically between 25 to 50 milligrams per day. Going lower than 15 milligrams often does nothing for hair. Going higher than 50 milligrams for long periods can cause problems, especially copper deficiency. Zinc and copper compete for absorption, so balance matters. For most people dealing with active hair shedding, 30 milligrams per day is a sweet spot. If hair loss is severe, short-term use of 40 to 50 milligrams for 6 to 8 weeks can be helpful, followed by a lower maintenance dose. This gives follicles the resources they need to recover without pushing the body out of balance. Just as important as dosage is the type of zinc. Zinc oxide is cheap and poorly absorbed. Zinc sulfate often causes stomach irritation. These forms are not ideal for hair regrowth. The best forms are zinc picolinate, zinc glycinate, and zinc citrate. Zinc picolinate is especially effective because it's highly bioavailable and easily absorbed by the intestinal lining. If you're serious about hair regrowth, this form matters. Timing also plays a role. Zinc should not be taken with calcium, iron, or magnesium because these minerals compete for absorption. Taking zinc on an empty stomach improves absorption, but if it causes nausea, take it with a small amount of protein, not dairy. Taking zinc before bed often works very well for hair and skin repair because that's when growth hormone activity is higher. Another mistake people make is ignoring copper entirely. If you take zinc longer than 2 months, you should include 1 to 2 milligrams of copper daily, either from food or a supplement. This prevents fatigue, weakness, and anemia-like symptoms that can actually worsen hair loss if copper drops too low. Zinc deficiency is extremely common, especially in people with digestive issues, high stress, or insulin resistance. Stress depletes zinc rapidly. High-sugar diets increase zinc loss through urine. Alcohol blocks zinc absorption. Even intense exercise can lower zinc levels over time. That means you could be doing many healthy things while quietly draining the very mineral your hair needs to grow. Food sources of zinc include oysters, red meat, pumpkin seeds, eggs, and shellfish. But here's the reality. Even with good food choices, many people still don't reach therapeutic levels needed for regrowth, especially if absorption is impaired. That's where supplementation becomes strategic, not optional. Zinc also works best when paired with other hair-supporting nutrients. Vitamin B6 helps zinc enter cells. Vitamin A helps regulate zinc metabolism. Adequate protein is essential because zinc activates enzymes that build keratin from amino acids. Without enough protein, zinc can't do its job properly. Hair regrowth doesn't happen overnight, but with proper zinc intake, many people notice reduced shedding within 4 to 6 weeks. New baby hairs often appear around the hairline and crown after 2 to 3 months. The key is consistency, correct dosage, and the right form. If you've tried oils, shampoos, and topical treatments without success, this could be the missing internal piece. Hair loss is rarely just a surface problem. When the body lacks zinc, the scalp pays the price. Get the dosage right, choose the right form, support absorption. That's how you give your hair follicles the signal to grow again. Most people think hair loss starts on the scalp, but in reality, it usually starts deep inside the body. One of the most overlooked root causes is zinc deficiency. What makes this so tricky is that zinc deficiency often develops silently. You don't wake up one day completely deficient. It happens slowly, over months or even years, until the hair follicles are no longer able to function the way they were designed to. Zinc is not just another mineral on a supplement label. It is involved in more than 300 enzymatic reactions in the body. When it comes to hair, zinc is absolutely essential because hair follicles are among the most rapidly dividing tissues you have. Any tissue that grows fast has extremely high nutritional demands. If zinc levels drop even slightly, the body starts rationing it for survival functions, and hair growth is one of the first things to be sacrificed. This is why hair thinning and excessive shedding are often early warning signs. Your body is saying, I don't have enough resources to maintain this non-essential tissue. From a survival standpoint, hair is not a priority. Your heart, brain, immune system, and blood sugar regulation will always come first. So when zinc is low, hair follicles slow down, shrink, and eventually shift into the resting phase much earlier than they should. One of zinc's most important roles in hair health is cell division. Each hair strand grows from a follicle that is constantly producing new cells. Zinc is required to copy DNA accurately during this process. Without enough zinc, the follicle cannot produce strong, healthy cells, and the hair shaft becomes thinner, weaker, and more prone to breaking and falling. Over time, the follicle itself can miniaturize, producing finer and finer hair until growth stops altogether. Another critical role of zinc is protein synthesis. Hair is made primarily of keratin, a tough structural protein. Zinc activates enzymes that help assemble amino acids into keratin. If zinc is missing, even a high-protein diet won't fully translate into strong hair. This is why some people eat plenty of protein but still experience hair loss. The building blocks are there, but the machinery to assemble them is broken. Zinc deficiency also disrupts the hair growth cycle. Healthy hair cycles through growth, transition, and resting phases in a balanced rhythm. When zinc is low, more hairs prematurely enter the shedding phase. This leads to noticeable hair fall in the shower, on pillows, and when brushing. People often describe this as sudden hair loss, but in reality, the deficiency was building long before the shedding became visible. Hormones play another major role, and zinc is deeply involved here as well. Zinc helps regulate enzymes that control androgen activity at the hair follicle. When zinc is deficient, follicles become more sensitive to DHT, a hormone known to shrink hair follicles over time. This doesn't mean zinc blocks hormones unnaturally. Instead, it helps the body maintain balance so follicles are not overstimulated by DHT signals. Without enough zinc, the hormonal environment around the follicle becomes hostile to growth. Inflammation is anoth, or hidden connection. Zinc is a powerful anti-inflammatory mineral. It helps stabilize cell membranes and reduces oxidative stress. When zinc levels are low, inflammation increases in the scalp tissue. This low-grade, chronic inflammation interferes with nutrient delivery to follicles and damages the surrounding environment. Inflamed follicles don't grow strong hair. They either produce weak strands or shut down entirely. The immune system is also tightly linked to zinc. Zinc deficiency weakens immune regulation, which can trigger autoimmune-type reactions in the scalp. In some people, this shows up as patchy hair loss or sudden shedding after stress or illness. Zinc helps regulate immune responses so the body doesn't mistakenly attack its own hair follicles. What makes zinc deficiency especially deceptive is that standard blood tests often fail to detect it. Blood zinc levels are tightly controlled because zinc in the blood is needed for critical functions. The body will pull zinc from tissues, including hair follicles, to keep blood levels normal. So you can be functionally deficient at the tissue level while lab results look fine. This is why many people are told everything is normal, yet their hair continues to thin. Modern diets are another major reason zinc deficiency is so widespread. Processed foods are extremely low in zinc. Even whole foods today contain less zinc than they did decades ago because of depleted soils. On top of that, high carbohydrate diets increase zinc loss through urine. Sugar and refined grains don't just fail to provide zinc, they actively deplete it. Digestive issues further worsen the problem. Low stomach acid, gut inflammation, or conditions affecting the small intestine all reduce zinc absorption. Stress also plays a huge role. Chronic stress increases cortisol, which rapidly depletes zinc stores. This explains why many people notice hair loss after prolonged stress, emotional trauma, or illness. The stress didn't directly cause the hair loss. It drained zinc and other key nutrients, pushing follicles past their breaking point. Alcohol is another major zinc blocker. It interferes with absorption and increases zinc excretion. Even moderate drinking can contribute to deficiency over time. Certain medications, including antacids and diuretics, can also lower zinc levels without people realizing it. When zinc deficiency persists, the scalp environment slowly deteriorates. Sebum production becomes imbalanced, leading to either excessive dryness or oily buildup. The scalp's ability to repair itself weakens. Microdamage accumulates around follicles and circulation becomes less efficient. All of this compounds the problem, making regrowth harder the longer the deficiency continues. The encouraging part is that hair follicles are remarkably resilient when given the right support. When zinc levels are restored, follicles can re-enter the growth phase. Shedding often slows first, which is an important early sign. Then, over time, new hair growth begins, often appearing as fine baby hairs that gradually thicken as the follicle recovers. However, it's important to understand that zinc deficiency rarely exists in isolation. It often comes with deficiencies in B vitamins, protein, or trace minerals that work together with zinc. But zinc is frequently the bottleneck. Without it, other nutrients cannot be properly utilized for hair growth. This is why topical treatments alone often fail. You can massage the scalp, use oils, and apply serums, but if the follicle lacks zinc internally, growth signals simply don't turn on. Hair growth is an inside-out process. The follicle needs the raw materials and enzymatic support before any external treatment can make a difference. Another reason zinc deficiency is so damaging to hair is its effect on stem cells within the follicle. Hair follicles rely on a population of stem cells to regenerate new growth cycles. Zinc supports the signaling pathways that activate these cells. When zinc is low, these signals weaken and follicles remain dormant longer than they should. Age can make this worse. As people get older, zinc absorption naturally declines, while the demand for repair and regeneration increases. This creates a perfect storm for hair thinning later in life, especially if diet and stress are not addressed. Women are particularly vulnerable due to hormonal fluctuations, pregnancy, and iron supplementation, which can interfere with zinc absorption. Men are vulnerable due to higher DHT activity combined with modern dietary patterns that are low in zinc. Different triggers, same underlying mineral problem. Understanding zinc deficiency as a root cause changes how you approach hair loss. Instead of chasing the latest product or procedure, you start by restoring the biological foundation that hair growth depends on. When zinc is consistently available at the cellular level, hair follicles can finally do what they were designed to do. Hair regrowth is not about forcing growth. It's about removing the obstacles that stop it. Zinc deficiency is one of the biggest obstacles there is. Fix that, and you give your hair a real chance to come back stronger, thicker, and more resilient than before. When it comes to zinc and hair regrowth, knowing that zinc is important is only half the story. The real difference between success and failure comes down to two things most people overlook: the exact dosage and the specific form of zinc. This is where many people unintentionally sabotage their results. They either take too little to make a difference, take the wrong type that barely gets absorbed, or take so much that it creates new deficiencies that actually worsen hair loss. Hair follicles don't respond to vague nutritional support. They respond to precise signals. Zinc has to reach the follicle in sufficient amounts, in a usable form, and for long enough to correct the deficiency. Anything less simply doesn't trigger regrowth. Let's start with dosage. The recommended dietary allowance for zinc is designed to prevent severe deficiency, not to restore hair growth. For adult men, it's around 11 milligrams per day, and for women, about 8 milligrams. These amounts may keep you alive, but they are often far too low to support hair regrowth, especially if you're already deficient. Hair regrowth requires a therapeutic dose. For most people experiencing hair thinning or excessive shedding, the effective daily intake of elemental zinc falls between 25 and 50 milligrams. This range provides enough zinc to replenish tissue stores, support follicle activity, and normalize the hair growth cycle. If someone is taking only 10 or 15 milligrams per day, they may be doing something helpful in theory, but in practice, the follicles never get enough zinc to switch back into growth mode. This is why many people say, "I tried zinc and it didn't work." In reality, the dosage was never high enough to create a biological response. That said, more is not always better. Taking excessive zinc for long periods can be just as damaging as taking too little. Doses above 50 milligrams daily, especially for months at a time, can interfere with copper absorption. Copper is another trace mineral that plays a role in hair pigmentation, connective tissue health, and circulation. When copper drops too low, hair can thin, weaken, and even lose color. This is why dosage must be strategic. For mild to moderate hair loss, around 25 to 30 milligrams per day is often enough. For more aggressive shedding or visible thinning, 40 to 50 milligrams may be used short-term, usually for 6 to 8 weeks, before reducing to a maintenance dose. This approach restores balance without creating new problems. Now let's talk about something even more important than dosage: the type of zinc. All zinc supplements are not created equal. The form determines how well zinc is absorbed, how much actually reaches your cells, and whether it causes side effects. One of the most common forms is zinc oxide. This form is inexpensive and widely used, but it has very poor bioavailability. Much of it passes through the digestive system without being absorbed. From a hair regrowth standpoint, zinc oxide is largely ineffective. Zinc sulfate is another common form. While it is absorbed better than zinc oxide, it often causes stomach irritation, nausea, and cramping. When digestion is compromised, absorption suffers and consistency becomes difficult. For many people, this form does more harm than good. For hair regrowth, highly bioavailable forms are essential. Zinc picolinate is one of the best options. It binds zinc to picolinic acid, which enhances absorption through the intestinal wall. Studies have shown that zinc picolinate raises zinc levels more effectively than many other forms. This makes it particularly useful for correcting deficiencies that affect hair follicles. Zinc glycinate is another excellent choice. It is gentle on the stomach and well absorbed, making it ideal for people with sensitive digestion. Zinc citrate also offers good absorption and is often better tolerated than sulfate or oxide. Choosing one of these forms dramatically increases the chances that zinc will actually reach the hair follicle where it's needed. Without good absorption, even a perfect dosage becomes meaningless. Timing and how zinc is taken also matter. Zinc competes with other minerals, especially calcium, iron, and magnesium, for absorption in the gut. Taking zinc at the same time as these minerals reduces how much gets absorbed. This is especially important for people taking multivitamins or iron supplements. For best absorption, zinc should be taken on an empty stomach, ideally 1 to 2 hours away from other minerals. However, zinc can cause nausea if taken completely alone. In that case, it can be taken with a small amount of protein, such as meat or eggs. Dairy should be avoided at that time as calcium interferes with zinc uptake. Many people find that taking zinc in the evening works well. Nighttime is when the body focuses on repair and regeneration. Growth hormone activity is higher during sleep, and zinc plays a role in this process. Taking zinc before bed can support both hair and skin repair overnight. Another overlooked factor is duration. Hair regrowth is a slow biological process. Taking zinc for 1 or 2 weeks and expecting dramatic results is unrealistic. Hair follicles need time to rebuild, restart growth cycles, and produce visible hair. Most people need at least 8 to 12 weeks of consistent zinc supplementation before significant regrowth becomes noticeable. One of the first signs that the dosage and form are correct is reduced shedding. This often happens before visible regrowth. The shower drain starts to look cleaner, hair on pillows decreases. This is a sign that follicles are staying in the growth phase longer. New growth often appears as fine, soft hairs, sometimes called baby hairs. These hairs gradually thicken over time if zinc levels remain adequate. Stopping supplementation too early can reverse this progress. Absorption can also be influenced by stomach acid. Low stomach acid, which is surprisingly common, reduces zinc absorption. People with bloating, reflux, or long-term antacid use often struggle to absorb minerals properly. In these cases, even the best zinc supplement may not work optimally without addressing digestion. Stress also affects zinc requirements. During periods of chronic stress, zinc is used more rapidly and excreted more quickly. This means that someone under high stress may need slightly higher intake to achieve the same effect on hair as someone with lower stress levels. Another mistake people make is assuming food alone will correct a deficiency. While foods like oysters, red meat, and pumpkin seeds are excellent sources of zinc, reaching therapeutic levels through diet alone can be difficult, especially if absorption is impaired. Supplements allow for precision and consistency that food alone often cannot provide during active hair loss. Zinc does not work in isolation. Certain nutrients improve its effectiveness. Vitamin B6 helps transport zinc into cells. Adequate protein provides the amino acids needed to build keratin once zinc activates the necessary enzymes. Vitamin A helps regulate zinc metabolism and utilization. Without these supporting nutrients, zinc's impact on hair may be limited. Consistency is more important than perfection. Missing occasional doses won't ruin progress, but frequent interruptions can slow or stop regrowth. Hair follicles respond to stable internal conditions. The more consistent the zinc supply, the stronger the signal for growth. Understanding dosage and type removes much of the guesswork from hair regrowth. Instead of hoping a supplement works, you create the conditions that make regrowth biologically possible. When zinc is provided in the right amount, in the right form, and absorbed properly, hair follicles finally receive the message they've been waiting for. Hair loss is not always permanent. In many cases, it's a nutritional signal that something is missing. Zinc, when used correctly, is one of the most powerful tools for turning that signal around and restoring healthy hair growth. One of the biggest mistakes people make with zinc is assuming that if a little helps, more must be better. This misunderstanding has quietly sabotaged hair regrowth for countless people. Zinc is powerful, but it does not work in isolation. Long-term zinc use must be balanced properly, or it can create new mineral imbalances that actually slow hair growth instead of supporting it. To understand why balance matters, you need to understand how minerals behave in the body. Minerals don't act alone. They interact, compete, and depend on each other. Zinc is a dominant mineral, meaning when you increase it, it can push other minerals down. This is especially true with copper. Zinc and copper share the same absorption pathways in the intestine. When zinc intake stays high for too long without balance, copper absorption drops. Copper is not the enemy. In fact, copper plays an essential role in hair health. It supports collagen and elastin formation around hair follicles, helps maintain proper blood flow to the scalp, and contributes to hair pigmentation. When copper levels drop too low, hair can become weak, thin, brittle, and in some cases lose color prematurely. Some people even notice increased hair shedding after months of high-dose zinc, not because zinc stopped working, but because copper quietly became deficient. This is why short-term zinc use for regrowth is different from long-term zinc use for maintenance. Short-term higher doses can be helpful to correct deficiency and stop shedding, but once zinc levels are restored, continuing the same high dose without balance can create a new problem. Hair follicles thrive in balance, not extremes. Copper deficiency doesn't happen overnight. It develops slowly. At first, people may feel more tired than usual. They may notice weaker nails, paler skin, or slower wound healing. Over time, hair quality begins to decline. The irony is that people often respond by increasing zinc even more, which makes the imbalance worse. The solution is not to fear zinc, but to respect its power. If zinc is taken longer than 6 to 8 weeks at moderate or high doses, copper must be considered. This doesn't mean taking large amounts of copper. Usually, 1 to 2 milligrams per day is enough to maintain balance. This small amount prevents deficiency without overpowering zinc's benefits. Food sources of copper include liver, shellfish, cocoa, nuts, seeds, and legumes. Many people can maintain copper balance through food alone if their diet is nutrient-dense. Others may need a low-dose supplement, especially if they continue zinc supplementation for several months. Another mineral affected by long-term zinc imbalance is iron. Zinc can interfere with iron absorption, particularly when taken together. Iron deficiency is a known cause of hair loss, especially in women. This means poorly timed zinc supplementation can indirectly worsen hair shedding by lowering iron availability. This doesn't mean zinc should be avoided. It means timing and balance matter. Taking zinc away from iron-rich meals or iron supplements helps prevent this issue. Hair regrowth is not about adding more more nutrients. It's about creating an internal environment where nutrients work together efficiently. Magnesium is another mineral indirectly affected. While zinc and magnesium don't compete as aggressively as zinc and copper, they still share digestive pathways. Chronic imbalance can affect relaxation, sleep quality, and stress response. Poor sleep and high stress further increase hair shedding, creating a cycle that's easy to miss if you were only focused on one nutrient. Balance also matters because zinc influences the immune system. Zinc supports immune regulation, but excessive zinc over time can suppress certain immune responses. This can make the scalp more vulnerable to low-grade infections, inflammation, or irritation that interfere with follicle health. Hair follicles need a calm, well-regulated immune environment to grow properly. Hormonal balance is another piece of the puzzle. Zinc helps regulate androgen activity at the follicle, but excessive zinc can disrupt other hormone-related enzymes. This can subtly affect thyroid function, cortisol balance, and reproductive hormones. Hormones don't need to be blocked or forced. They need to be supported in balance. Hair growth depends on this harmony. Another overlooked factor is how long zinc stays elevated in tissues. Unlike water-soluble vitamins, excess minerals are not easily flushed out. The body must actively regulate them. Long-term excess creates storage issues and competition at the cellular level. This is why cycling zinc or reducing the dose after initial regrowth often produces better long-term results than staying on a high dose indefinitely. Hair follicles respond best to stability. Once shedding has slowed and new growth has started, the goal shifts from correction to maintenance. At this stage, lowering zinc to a moderate dose while maintaining copper balance supports ongoing growth without triggering mineral stress. Digestive health also plays a role in balance. If the gut is inflamed or absorption is impaired, minerals are absorbed unevenly. Someone may absorb zinc well but struggle with copper or magnesium. This creates imbalance even at moderate doses. Supporting gut health through proper digestion, adequate stomach acid, and reduced inflammation improves mineral harmony and hair outcomes. Stress adds another layer. Chronic stress increases zinc loss while also increasing copper utilization. This means stressed individuals are more vulnerable to imbalance in both directions. Some lose zinc faster. Others lose copper faster, depending on diet, genetics, and lifestyle. This is why blanket advice rarely works. Awareness and balance are key. Another mistake people make is stacking supplements without understanding interactions. Multivitamins, hair formulas, immune blends, and single mineral supplements can quickly add up. Someone may unknowingly take zinc from 3 different sources. Over time, this pushes intake far beyond what's needed and increases imbalance risk. Reading labels and knowing total daily intake is critical. Hair regrowth doesn't come from excess. It comes from precision. One of the most important signs that balance is off is when hair initially improves, then stalls or worsens. This often happens around the 3 to 4 month mark. People describe it as zinc worked at first, then stopped. In many cases, zinc didn't stop working. The imbalance simply caught up. The encouraging news is that this is reversible. Restoring balance often brings regrowth back on track. Hair follicles are incredibly responsive when the internal environment is corrected. Hair health is not about chasing a single miracle nutrient. Zinc is powerful, but it's only powerful when used intelligently. Long-term success depends on respecting how the body works as a system. When zinc is balanced with copper, taken at the right dose, timed properly, and supported by good nutrition and digestion, it becomes one of the most effective tools for hair regrowth. When it's abused or misunderstood, it can quietly undermine the very progress you're trying to achieve. Hair follicles don't need extremes. They need consistency, balance, and cooperation between nutrients. Get that right. And zinc becomes a long-term ally rather than a short-term fix.